Prosecutors accuse Alderman Ed Burke of anti-Semitism in their latest court filings in his criminal case. The focus of our Spotlight Politics as more details emerge on those secret tapings of the alderman. Welcome back, the Spotlight Politics team, Amanda Vinicky, Heather Sharon, and Paris Schutt. So as we just heard, federal prosecutors dropped a bombshell in its newest court filing in the corruption case against Alderman Ed Burke. According to prosecutors, Burke allegedly made anti-Semitic remarks on secret recordings saying, quote, "Well, you know as well as I do, Jews are Jews and they'll deal with Jews to the exclusion of everybody else unless there's a reason for them to use a Christian." Paris, prosecutors argued that this incendiary information was relevant to the charged scheme. Why?
Well, first I should say that anyone who's covered Ed Burke all the way back to the council war days would not be surprised that that kind of language was allegedly captured here. But prosecutors say this conversation is central to many of the charges outlined in this case because he's trying allegedly to get business for his private property tax appeal firm. And in exchange, he's saying, well, you know, I got to do something for these guys. And what I'll do is something in relation to my capacity as the finance committee chairman and city council. I'll give them some city related business so I can get private business. This is what most of these counts are about in this case. And I don't think it's lost on prosecutors that this kind of revelation gets played in the media, gets played in the public. This is the kind of thing that draws attention. And so ultimately, it could be the kind of thing that the defense attorneys say isn't relevant. It paints too harsh of a picture here for what we're focusing on in this case. They might be successful at that, but the damage is done here in the public domain, and those comments were picked up by everybody.
And Amanda, Burke's lawyers tried to block that from becoming public, right?
Well, yeah, they're trying to block a lot of the wiretapped conversations, frankly. And by the way, there is an extraordinary amount of those conversations the feds overheard. But in particular, because as Paris sort of was alluding to, I think they recognized the damage that could be done to Burke's character. You had prosecutors saying, you know, that this isn't too prejudicial. And by the way, they do say that it is relevant to what is at hand. While Burke is saying on all of those wiretaps, you do not hear the tit for tat exchange of a shakedown that ostensibly the feds would be looking for. You have prosecutors saying just the opposite. And I think really if you hone in, there's of course the attention grabbing anti-Semitic slur component of that conversation. But where the trade comes in is, quote, use a Christian, at least allegedly. Burke, of course, denying any wrongdoing.
Now, Burke continues in his 50th year as alderman in spite of the objections of the mayor. Here's what Mayor Lori Lightfoot had to say today.
By his own words, in wiretapped conversations, Alderman Burke said and did things that not only were improper, seemed to be illegal. Now, he is entitled to a presumption of innocence, as all charged defendants are, but I called on him to resign. He's obviously not done that. But I just think there's no place in public life for somebody like him.
Heather, is there any other way to remove an alderman other than, you know, ballot box, jury box, or pine box?
That's it. There is no mechanism for impeachment or removal. I get that questions from people sometimes. Mayor Lightfoot also wasn't the only city elected official to call for Ed Burke to step down. I spoke with Alderman Michelle Smith, who is one of two Jewish members of the city council, who said that, of course, Ed Burke owes Chicago's Jewish community an apology and that he should resign because she said, quote, he's a criminal, end quote. And, you know, it would have been one day unthinkable for a member of the city council to speak out against Ed Burke that way. But this is a new era. And while he's been quieter at city council meetings, not quite so many historical lectures about the founding of the city, he's still active. And Mayor Lightfoot said today that he's working through other aldermen to get his work done. So a lot of eyebrows went up when she said that.
Who could those be?
Well, so, you know, there's been this redacted section of the court filing that seemed to reveal that Burke was caught on tape by another cooperator committing a separate crime. Paris, do you think that is former Alderman Danny Solis, or could this be someone else?
Well, let's pick a public official here that's been in some legal hot water. It could be somebody else, Brandis. Wouldn't we all like to know? I don't know the answer to that, but I will remind everybody that Danny Solis, the former chairman of the zoning committee, powerful alderman, is a big player in this indictment because he allegedly was wearing a wire that nabbed Burke. And to get out of his own legal trouble, I mean, you have the feds here basically setting him up to try to be the intermediary in the case of the remodel of the old post office building. He's kind of like the intermediary, goading them to get to hire Burke, and you know, and Burke's lawyers say, well, you know, you're kind of using Danny Solis here to kind of like entrap our client, for lack of better phraseology here, and that's kind of one of the things they feel is kind of like illegitimate about the case being brought against them.
Now, of course, we have to talk about the Derek Chauvin verdict. Amanda, you covered the reaction to those guilty verdicts in the Derek Chauvin trial. What are elected officials saying?
Well, they are saying that this is justice, some saying that it wasn't justice, but at least it was accountability, lots of condolences and sympathy for the Floyd family. I did not see any of the many reactions that came into my inbox. None expressed anything besides that sort of sentiment. There was nobody that was feeling remorseful for Chauvin or that expressed any sentiment that the jury had gotten it wrong. I even saw reporting, the leader of Chicago's FOP had said that Chauvin did not act properly. So there wasn't any sort of reaction. What I'm really focusing on is what this leads to, because of course, we did see already a very big reaction to the George Floyd, now we can phrase it as a murder, by the Illinois legislature, but going to really wait and see if this verdict and other actions are going to lead legislators to end qualified immunity for police officers, and that is something that police officers, law enforcement in general, are really fighting against.
And Heather, the DOJ we know is opening, or the Department of Justice, I should say, is opening an investigation into the Minneapolis policing. Chicago is under a federal consent decree. Is this helping with reforming CPD here?
Well, we've talked on this show quite a bit about how far behind the Chicago Police Department is on meeting the requirements of that consent decree. And I have to remind you that the Department of Justice did not force Chicago into a consent decree. It was former Illinois Attorney General Lisa Madigan who sort of put the screws to then former Mayor Rahm Emanuel to force this. Under the Trump administration, the Department of Justice refused to pursue consent decrees, even in egregious cases of police misconduct. So this is the first of a new era of the Department of Justice under Attorney General Merrick Garland. It will be interesting to me to watch and see what the Department of Justice does as Chicago continues to struggle to fulfill the terms of the consent decree it's under, as well in the wake of what happened, of course, to 13-year-old Adam Toledo, and all of the other issues facing Chicago police.
And we just heard earlier in the show from some activists who are among a group who are putting the pressure on, and that pressure is mounting to determine what civilian police oversight will look like as Latinx aldermen and activists call for accountability. Led to a heated exchange between the mayor and Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez when he took a turn from honoring 13-year-old Adam Toledo. Here's a look.
I will give you a brief moment to speak. Brief, sir.
Mayor Lightfoot, we have a bill right now, and you know this very well. We have the Empowerment Committee for Public Safety. We need to pass it.
Sir, you are now out of order.
I'm not out of order.
You are now out of order. You are out of order.
Now, Heather, you were back in City Council for the first time in a year. What was that like? But also, why did that moment become so heated?
Well, what happened was that Alderman Mike Rodriguez, whose 22nd ward includes Little Village, where Adam was killed, introduced a resolution honoring Adam, talking a little bit about who he was and what he liked, and basically calling for the city to make real changes in the wake of his death. That prompted Alderman Sigcho Lopez to stand up, and he was actually the only alderman who didn't have a seat on the city council chambers floor. He had to sit in the gallery because of social distancing rules to stand up and push for that unity ordinance, as they're calling it, to put a civilian oversight board in charge of the police department. But as you heard, Mayor Lori Lightfoot wasn't having any of that.
Now, Amanda, we know, obviously we've got to pivot to COVID a little bit, and infection rates are down, but ICU beds are still filling up as officials are redoubling their efforts to be sure that residents on the South Side are vaccinated. But Aren't all Chicagoans eligible, all Chicagoans over the age of 16, that is, eligible for a vaccination now?
Yes, and not just Chicago. This is everywhere. For a time, we really saw a lot of disparate policies between the city of Chicago, but also many of the suburban health departments. Now, statewide, adults can get the vaccine. And it does appear Cook County public health officials saying that they do expect to soon be putting out again and giving shots for that Johnson & Johnson shot, with a lot of people have been requesting. We also see the state doing college days, and we have a couple of universities in Chicago, I believe Columbia as well as DePaul, now requiring that vaccine to be given before students can return in the fall. But we knew at some point we were going to hit a period where there would be, for a long time, you didn't have enough vaccine to put into arms. It may soon be turning the corner to the challenge of convincing people who haven't yet received the vaccine to get it, to get to that point of herd immunity.
Now, Paris, in the 45 seconds that we've got left, there were these resignation rumors about the mayor. Are these a combined effort to put some pressure on her, just to rattle her?
Well, Brandis, it was so bizarre. It was a lot of rumors that just sort of flew off the handle on Twitter over the weekend, and it seemed to come from far-right sources that are opposed to the mayor, and then picked up by far-left sources that are opposed to the mayor, but no credible sources. And, and then some of the folks that started spreading these then took them back and said, hey, it didn't come from us. We should stop doing this. So, I mean, the lesson here is that just don't trust what you see on social media unless it's coming from a credible news outlet. I mean, everybody should know that, but we have to remind everybody of that sometimes.
All right. Like a credible news outlet like our Spotlight Politics team, Heather Sharon, Amanda Vinicky, and Paris Schutz. Thanks, guys.